du Gerard mal durchschmeißen?
Okay, kommt man an?
Nein, heute nicht, aber springt jetzt ein. Weil er gesagt, ich kann schon mal Gerard mal singen.
Okay, ja. Tut mir jetzt morgen noch Klasse geben?
Morgen sollte er, glaube ich.
Hat er gestern?
Gestern. Ja. Ja, ja, ja.
can you switch on the...
Ich mach's.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritta Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
So a little bit spontaneous, beginning class. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 4, text 29, chapter 29, text 12. Apano vyavaharotra.
Apano Vyavaharotra.
Apano vyavaharotra.
Apano Vyavaharotra.
Chitramandho bahudanam.
Chitramando Bahudanam.
Chitramandho bahudanam.
Chitramando Bahudanam.
Pitrihur dakshina karna.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Pitrihur dakshina karna.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Uttaro devahu smritaha.
Uttaro Devahu Smritaha.
Uttaro devahu smritaha.
Uttaro Devahu Smritaha.
Apano vyavaharotra.
Apano Vyavaharotra.
Chitramando bahudanam.
Chitramando Bahudanam.
Pitrihur dakshina karna.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Uttaro devahu smrita.
Uttaro Devahu Smrita. Apano Vyavaharotra.
Apano Vyavaharotra.
Chitramando Bahudanam.
Chitramandho Bahudanam.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Uttaro Devahu Smrita.
Uttaro Devahu Smrita. Apano Vyavaharotra.
Apano Vyavaharotra.
Chitramando Bahudanam.
Chitramando Bahudanam.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Uttaro Devahu Smritaha.
Uttaro Devahu Smritaha.
Apano Vyavaharotra.
Apano Vyavaharotra.
Chitramando Bahudanam.
Chitramando Bahudanam.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Uttaro Devahu Smritaha.
Uttaro Devahu Smritaha.
Apano Vyavaharotra.
Apano Vyavaharotra.
Chitramando Bahudanam.
Chitramando Bahudanam.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Pitrihur Dakshina Karna.
Uttaro Devahu Smritaha.
Uttaro Devahu Smritaha.
Word for word translation. Apanaha.
Apanaha.
Named Apana.
Named Apana.
Vyavaharaha.
Vyavahara.
Business of the tongue.
Business of the tongue.
Atra.
Atra.
Here.
Here.
Chitram.
Chitram.
Of all varieties.
Of all varieties.
Andaha.
Andaha.
Eatables.
Eatables.
Bahudanam.
Bahudanam.
Named Bahudana.
Named Bahudana.
Pitrihuhu.
Pitrihuhu.
Named Pitrihu.
Named Pitrihu.
Dakshinaha.
Dakshinaha.
Right.
Right.
Karnaha,
Karnaha,
ear.
ear.
Uttaraha,
Uttaraha,
left.
left.
Devahu,
Devahu,
Devahu.
Devahu.
Smritaha
Smritaha
is called.
is called.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The city called Apana represents engagement of the tongue in speech, and Bahudana is the variety of foodstuffs. The right ear is called the gate of Pitrihu, and the left ear is called the gate of Devahu. Doesn't have a purport, so we can read one more verse. Pravrittam cha nivrittam cha shastrum panchala samhitam Pitriyanam devayanam Shrutrat shrutta dharat brajet. Translation. Narada Muni continued. The city spoken of as Dakshina Panchala represents the scriptures meant for directing pravritti, the process of sense enjoyment in fruitive activities. The other city, named Uttara Panchal, represents the scriptures meant for decreasing fruitive activities and increasing knowledge. The living entity receives different kinds of knowledge by means of two ears, and some living entities are promoted to Pitriloka and some to Devaloka. All this is made possible by the two ears. Purport. The Vedas are known as Shruti, and the knowledge received from them through oral reception is called Shruttadhar. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, one can be promoted to the planets of the demigods, or to the planets of the Pitas, forefathers, or even to the Vaikuntha planets, simply through the process of hearing. These things have already been explained in previous chapters. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishachanam Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. So, can try to say something about this. You're still hearing about the different parts of the body described by Narada Muni in this pastime, and now we're hearing especially in this last verse about the ears, and we know we have 2 ears, and that sounds quite fantastic that these 2 ears actually have different functions that most probably nobody was thinking about before coming in touch with the Vedic knowledge. And it's said here that the right ear has a certain function and the left ear has a certain function. And one ear is needing, one ear is basically used to receive transcendental sound vibration, and the other ear is there to receive material sound vibration. And by receiving these different kinds of sound vibration, we will receive different kinds of results. If we receive transcendental sound vibration, we move towards the transcendental sky, the spiritual sky. If we receive material sound vibration, we somehow entangle ourselves more in this material universe. Everything has a meaning. Unfortunately, because we are so unconscious, we cannot understand many things. But when we speak about right and left, there is a very deep significance behind the right side and the left-hand side. Even by there is some teaching that, not teaching, but there is a certain understanding that the right eye and the left eye, they have 2 different functions. One is more kind of masculine and one more feminine. So then, for example, they will say, you just, when you talk to a person, you just look in the left eye to protect yourself. Because the right eye will send the, the right eye basically, as I understood, will send out some energies from that person. So if you want to stay connected with yourself, protect yourself from that energy, you look in the left eye, and you can basically more easily impose yourself on that person. You can look in my left eye. So similarly also the ears, they have different functions. And so we can speak about the importance of hearing. And of course there's different ways how we can hear. There's, especially what I would like to also maybe speak a little bit about, there's the spoken word and there's the written word. And it's quite interesting that the written word is also sound, even though I might read, I can hear sound, but in a very subtle way. It's more in the mind, no, I can hear. And because of my mind being trained in a certain way, we go to school and we learn the alphabet, we learn how to read, then we train ourselves in such a way that simply by looking at this, I can hear something within me. It's amazing. Now, if you give this to a Chinese person, he cannot hear anything. Similarly, when a Chinese person gives a Chinese script to us, we cannot hear anything. But if we look at it, we can hear something. We can immediately hear the sound of these words. So and that became especially important in Kali Yuga. Before, books were not so prominent because people, they were Shrutidar, we heard here, through all the knowledge received through the oral reception is called Shrutidar. And there is a saying that one can be Shrutidar, that whenever the person hears something, they can immediately remember. So previously, human beings, they were trained in a way that by simply hearing once, they could keep it within them. But then in Kali Yuga, because the people don't have that capacity anymore, and why not? Why do you think people cannot keep things?
Because they are not training, and it's a blessing of Kali Yuga. For less memory, people have less brain.
Kali Yuga, they have less brain, huh? Why?
Because the life is shorter.
Life is shorter. Why is the life shorter?
It's an effect of Kali.
Why is it an effect? Everything has a reason now. Just want to find that verse in Bhagavatam. You remember where the verse is? I think in the last canto. Sorry, I'm not prepared, and I think it's nice to read now. Do you have this experience that sometimes you are more perceptive and sometimes less? Sometimes you can memorize better and sometimes less. You have that experience. Why do you think sometimes you're more receptive and sometimes less?
Influence of different kind of gunas and also grahas sometimes. Sometimes grahas also.
Yes.
If we have Mercury period, so we can good memory, we can study and other good things.
Yeah, we are kind of, we can feel that something else is controlling us, and sometimes we are fortunate, we are more receptive, and sometimes we are less. Just 1 second, I'm sure I'll find it.
And Krishna also say, I give you memory for как это, память, знание, зрение.
I found it.
Remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness.
Krishna,
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, we could say that Krishna's fault that we cannot memorize in Kali Yuga. Right? This verse no, of course it's not Krishna's fault. He's just facilitating. This is from the first canto, first chapter, verse number 10, very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prayenal Payusa Sabya Kala Vasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhakya Ya Yupadruta. Here, who is speaking here? The sages of Naimisharanya. They know already the condition of Kali Yuga, so they ask Sutta Goswami to guide them. And before asking these questions, they also speak here about the difficulty in Kali Yuga. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. Radha Govinda Mataji said. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and, above all, always disturbed. Let's read a little bit from the purport. The devotees of the Lord are always anxious for the spiritual improvement of the general public. When the sages of Naimisharanya analyzed the state of affairs of the people in this age of Kali, they foresaw that men would live short lives. In Kali Yuga, the duration of life is shortened not so much because of insufficient food, I ask now why, I really like Prabhupada, but because of irregular habits. Yeah, we have enough food, too much often, even in the temple, but because we are irregular in our habits. By keeping regular habits and eating simple food, any man can maintain his health. Overeating, over-sense gratification, over-dependence on another's mercy, and artificial standards of living sap the very vitality of human energy. Therefore, the duration of life is shortened. Nice, this Prabhupada. And one can analyze when we look in the world. This is really a symptom of the age. People are so. One thing Prabhupada is mentioning, that over-dependence on another's mercy. Think about a human being in the city of Zurich, how dependent that living entity is on so many things. On the gas that is supplied by the government, electricity, the food in the supermarket, the money coming from the company where the person is working for, the China who is supplying the clothes cheaply. What else? The government who has to maintain the roads so that I can travel every day to work and back. And if there's just one small thing, if there's a tree laying in the road or whatever, then I will not be able to go. So it becomes an atmosphere full of anxiety, actually. And we don't know, but it's a very subtle thing that human beings, they can in a way feel that there is so much uncertainty and that I'm depending on so many factors that they become very tensed. And Prabhupada is saying here that sap the very vitality of human energy. Sap. Wow. Just 1 second, I'm looking it up in the dictionary. There's 4 kinds of sap. Different, same word but different meanings. So sap means the juice in a plant. So for example, you have the aloe vera sap. There's this aloe vera juice you can buy in the supermarket. It's very nice, I like it. It's made of aloe vera sap. And Prabhupada is saying, so all these things, they sap the vitality, they take out the juice. And that's why human beings have short lives. And irregular habits, of course, as well, like no fixed time when I go to bed, no fixed time when I get up, no fixed time when I eat, no fixed way how I eat. The other day also in the city, you see so many people, they run while they eat and run to the train. So many, like animals. Meaning they don't have a fixed time, they just, whenever they feel hungry and they get some time, they quickly buy something and munch it in. And at the same time they might have to run or walk, or even they sit in the tram with all kinds of dirty environment around. So this is very nice to become more conscious about this and understand how in Kali Yuga the habits are so irregular. And of course then when it comes to the very foundation of human life, the relationships are not regulated. And this is a big thing because the child cannot trust the parents anymore, the husband cannot trust the wife cannot trust the husband, the grandparents cannot trust their children that they will maintain them in. And all of this, because it's not regulated, it's all uncertainty. Yesterday my sister came and we spoke like for 4 hours and we spoke about everything, and also we spoke about my grandmother and how she's now 88 and she's having this anxiety that my father and all the family and my sister also, they don't like to have her anymore, that she should go, that they feel burdened by her. And she now apparently declared that with 90 years I will move into the old age home. And can you imagine what kind of anxiety that must be in that kind of person, because she's old, she's weak, every time some ailment in the body comes up. And now that person has to worry about leaving the home where she lived she must have lived there for literally 70 years. Can you imagine what kind of tension that must build up in the person? So of course, fortunately, my father is kind of the same person in that regard. He feels she should stay there as long. But usually, 90% maybe or more, people don't like to take care anymore of other people. And we also spoke about the 4 regulative principles, and of course one principle is always like you can feel the conversation becomes a little bit uncomfortable. Which principle is that? Illicit sex. I feel almost everybody becomes very agitated when you mention that. Same yesterday. But this is the fundamental thing which human society has to understand. Even if even if devotees sometimes struggle with this principle, but we cannot change the philosophy, and human life only begins when sex life is regulated, meaning it's done in a marriage and it is done for procreation, and then all the other things follow. And if it's not done like that, then the children will suffer a lot. They will have all kinds. And now, why is it important to mention this? Because the very foundation of a human's psychology and health are so much connected. Why? Because Prabhupada said, the duration of life is not so much dependent on the food, it's more about how you behave in your life, and that has to do with your psychology. It's not something else, it's your psychology which decides how you behave in your life. And your psychology is mainly shaped in the first years of your life as a child. So if you, as a child, as a very young child, you actually don't need so many things. You need your mother primarily, and that's it. And then after it extends, maybe then you feel, I need my father, I need this, I need that. But what happens nowadays is that they put the children away after a few weeks, months, and leave them alone. And they are so blind, so covered, that they cannot take the position of the child and understand that that child doesn't understand what's happening. That child is completely traumatized by not receiving the care and love of the mother. The child is for 9 months in the body, and then not only, in the body means it's basically one with the mother. And now that the first trauma comes, the child has to go out of the body. And naturally the child is always, the orientation is going towards the mother, because the mother is the nourishment. And now, after a few weeks, the child just gets dumped in a place and doesn't see the mother the whole day. Sorry, I'm speaking too spontaneous now, but I told her that I got very kind of a little bit enthusiastic, that I would really like to sit down with people and discuss that, because I feel the philosophy and the understanding we get is so powerful that we can defeat other people's nonsensical ideas. And I feel as devotees we have to do that. We have Prabhupada, he wanted to change the human society, and we as devotees have to be pioneers, we have to be bold. Not everybody, but some who have the capacity, they have to kind of step out and present the naked truth. Even though it feels uncomfortable, and not only present the truth, but somehow we have to, as devotees, we should see how can we give the example. How can we show how family life should be done? How do we eat? How do we sleep? How do we work? We have to show them practically. Srila Prabhupada, he very much spoke about this. There is a room conversation in Mayapur in the very end of his pastimes in 1977, where he says that we have to establish Varnashram Dharma. And maybe I can find it, just give me a second. It's a very famous conversation. Yeah, I'll probably take my time to find it. And Prabhupada, Satsvarup Das Goswami is challenging Prabhupada. He's saying, Prabhupada, why are you speaking about this Varnashram Dharma? We are already devotees. We have become Vaishnavas now, and Vaishnavas don't need Varnashram Dharma. First of all, Prabhupada tells him Vaishnava is a very high position, and it's not so cheap. And he's then saying, see how many of my disciples fall down. He's speaking about one sannyasi who had a couple of affairs. And then the conversation goes on, and he's asking Prabhupada, so how do we do that? Because in the temples, we already have our lifestyle somehow. And Prabhupada says, why are you only speaking about temples? You don't understand me. Why are you only speaking about temples? We have to make the whole society, we have to benefit the whole society. And then Prabhupada gives a very nice example. He says, even if you are a devotee and on the devotional platform, what should you do? You should make a role play. He said you should play the part of a conditioned living entity who is living in this world happily by performing Varnashram Dharma. Prabhupada saying that devotees should, if a devotee is actually advanced enough and maybe also has a certain destiny, then that devotee should show by example, not because maybe the devotee is so much dependent on it, but because the devotee is compassionate and wants to show the way. Srila Prabhupada himself in Vrindavan, before he left his body and before he went again to the West, he was saying, now I will go to Gita Nagari and sit down there and show you how to practice Varnashram Dharma. Does Prabhupada have to do that? Prabhupada can stay in Vrindavan, sit in one corner and just chant and hear and be completely fine. But he wanted to give the example and show others how this should be done. And so we kind of a little bit drifting away, but how did we come to that point? Because the symptoms in Kali Yuga are so degraded that humans, they have very little capacity for spiritual life, and therefore the books were written. But we can see that even though the books are here, how many are really studying and reading the books? It's actually a fact that in ISKCON many do. See, people outside anywhere will not read the books. And then, if somebody will read, then those who already joined ISKCON and committed. But then they made a survey and found out that many devotees are also not reading books. So, and why? Again, it has a lot to do because we are so conditioned that we cannot regulate ourselves in a way that we do it, it becomes our habit. And so there is a need to understand that this Krishna consciousness movement is a very great undertaking, and we should be conscious about how we can benefit humanity following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, and by somehow or other, by our activities, uplifting human society at large. And one thing which is very important, I find, is that we keep a long-term vision in mind. Because Srila Prabhupada had a long-term vision, for sure. And that's why he was able to do what he did. If he would have a very narrow-minded, short-time vision, he could not have done what he did. But Prabhupada had a very broad, long-term vision, and that's why he was able to Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai, Shri Bhagavatam Ki Jai. He was able to establish ISKCON, establish the BBT, and so many things, and how he established in a way that they would be there for a long time. But Srila Prabhupada mentioned that his mission is not complete, and that it will continue after his departure. And so I feel we ourselves as devotees, we can also do ourselves a great favor if we break out of our small bubble and see a bigger picture. Meaning that how am I connected with the human society? How am I connected with the whole world? What is my duty in regards to Srila Prabhupada's vision and mission? And act in a way which then benefits each and every one. for example, we can, maybe as devotees, we can do many, many things, and at the same time, now we're having this Srila Prabhupada book distribution marathon. How much the book distribution has already changed the world, we cannot actually comprehend. But we know that even outside people, they acknowledged that the book distribution, the preaching of the Hare Krishna movement has changed the whole world by introducing things which have not been there before, like vegetarianism, yoga, meditation. They have become household words, everybody knows about it. And it's the book distribution, the preaching movement of Srila Prabhupada who has done the most of it, of that work. Now if you go on YouTube, I was thinking yesterday, you find so many spiritual movements, and it has become normal that you worship some murtis and you chant mantras, you do puja. But this has changed within the last few years. That has not been there 50 years before. 50 years before, it was all so foreign and unknown. And it naturally we can understand by looking at the figures, how many books have been distributed, how much the holy name has been chanted, how much prasadam has been distributed, that this has been the underlying factor for the change in human society. This can be kind of concluded, or should be. And now, by seeing that kind of drastic change in ISKCON nowadays, we should not lose the focus on these basic activities. Maybe sometimes we feel that we don't see the effect because we want the result from our activities, but just because we might not see it immediately doesn't mean that there is no effect. And think about it, if ISKCON would become strong in the sense that every ISKCON temple is just doing these activities very profusely, that the ISKCON temples become branches where just prasadam is flowing out in streams, books are going out, the Harinam is being brought to the people. What if this would become more and more the forefront of our activities? The whole human society will change and change and change more and more and more and more. And this will happen over generations, but it will have a tremendous effect. So as temple devotees, we should try to perfect our own lives, but we should also put ourselves in line with the family business, what Srila Prabhupada established. And we can actually plan our whole life in this way. We could just think about this soberly, how much benefit this movement is doing to the human society and all living entities, actually, not only human society. Because if human beings stop to eat meat, then the animals will also benefit. If the human beings become more sattvic and they don't have to produce so much anymore to have happiness, then the environment will also benefit. And nowadays, people are speaking about these things. They speak about environmental change. They speak about how we can become more natural living. But this is the foundation. It's really like that, and Srila Prabhupada was convinced about it. And so we are followers of Srila Prabhupada, we are in his movement, and so we can basically just plan our whole life to dedicate our time and energy to these activities. And some people, they do more, some they do less, but simply by being convinced and dedication to the mission, if it's a small or if it's more, it's perfect, and it will change the world. And Prabhupada gave once also this nice example that again we feel sometimes that no, I'm doing my arati, I'm dressing the Lord, I'm cleaning the floor, I'm doing some cooking, I clean the flower which is laying in the flower room. You know, we sometimes feel that what am I doing? You know, I'm cleaning the bathroom, I'm driving with the car around to pick some flowers up. We sometimes don't really, or even if we go on book distribution, we distribute 2 books. You know, we're there for 3 hours and nobody takes a book, and we go home and feel, what did I do? Prabhupada gave this example of the bird, that some birds they fly from one continent to the other, and some birds they just fly around in the village. They will never go to another continent. But he said, but all the birds are nice, and all the birds make nice sounds. Not all of them, but some too nice. So, in this way, if we as devotees become convinced that, like the spider in Ram Lila, they built a bridge from India to Sri Lanka because they had to go and rescue Sita. And so they started to build a bridge by putting stones and all kinds of soil in the ocean water, so that slowly a bridge will build. And so many living entities were helping, and there was a spider. Squirrel was there, who was also, you know, taking with the squirrel has very cute hands. In India you sometimes see them. Actually you see them not sometimes, all the time you see them. They take them out and so with these small hands, that squirrel, it took some soil, you know, some small pebbles, and it was also throwing. And then who came? Hanuman. And Hanuman, of course, is a different kind of caliber. It's very strong. He would take huge rocks and put them in the sea. So he said, please step aside, my dear squirrel. You're just obstructing our work here. And how much can you achieve? But then he was reminded by the Lord that, hey, it doesn't matter how much you do. It's the dedication, the devotion, which makes this activity perfect. And if we as devotees in ISKCON can develop that consciousness, we can become so satisfied. Because now we are not satisfied. We come from a world where constantly we just open our small demon and he's showing us, you can go to this place, you can go to that place, you can have this job and earn so much money, or you can have this job and earn so much money. You can have these kind of clothes, or you can have these kind of clothes. You can have that kind of girlfriend, or you can have that kind of boyfriend. You can have this house or that house, you can have this water or that water. You know, even the water, now you have to make a choice. Everything, so many options, so much room for. And what happens? We become completely disturbed. Again, we are not regulated. We have too many options. And now we, by Prabhupada's mercy, we got a path to just cultivate simple living, high thinking, and become happy. But it's a task. We have to consciously work on it, because our mind is still dragging us in that direction. And how do we achieve it? By engaging in the activities, by regulating ourselves, by worshipping the deities, by distributing books, by cooking, by cleaning, by doing kirtan, by listening Srimad Bhagavatam, by speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. Simply by doing it, we will come to understand that this is the perfection of my life. It doesn't matter if you are here now or if nobody's here. Simply by me doing it, I actually know it's the perfection of my life. So, that's the hope, that we as devotees become so mature that we can, and if we, what happens if we reach that level, then we become committed, then we become fixed in our devotional service. And if we become fixed in our devotional service, Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, they will see and they will say, wow, now I'm starting to trust that person. Before I was not sure, because that person, I could always feel, that he was thinking about maybe I should go to some other place and do some other thing. But now I can see, okay, that person is committed. And I'm not saying it's only for the temple devotees, even outside devotees, they can commit themselves. They can, even if I have a job, I study, if I have a family, I can commit myself. I can say, Gauri time, I just want to serve you till the end of my life, till I fall down dead. I want to be your servant, I don't want to go anywhere else, I don't want to do anything else, I'm happy, and please accept me. Please allow me to stay at your lotus feet and don't kick me away. And then the relationship becomes very nice and deep. And before that, if I have a relationship, we can see it. If I have a relationship with you and I can feel that you're always thinking, maybe I have a better option, I have a better choice, maybe I will not fully open my heart to you because I don't trust you yet. So we have to become trustworthy. Thank you for your attention. So hearing, and we slided off a bit. Hare Krishna, do you have anything to add? Yes.
Thank you for the lecture. You talked about Varnashrama. It's you say it's not straight with this text. That. Yes, with it's not closely to this text, but actually Varnashrama is giving options to time for hearing. And this farm community, Srila Prabhupada wants to devotees have time for sadhana, for kirtan, for many things. Once I remember His Holiness Shivaram Swami, he asked devotees who live in city. He asked, he told all programs of Srila Prabhupada, it's Mangalarati, it's Japa, it's reading Srila Prabhupada's books, it's kirtan, a lot. And he asked devotees, he started to calculate how much times they have, and he have conclusions, they chanting japa when they drive or something like this. Yeah. So it's very important to have very nice spiritual life time, and farm community and Varnashrama, it really give time for Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the opulence of simple farm life. You have time for these kind of things, but then you have to give up some comfort which is there in the city life. So that choice usually has to be made. Or sometimes you can also combine it a bit. So you're inspired to become a farm devotee?
Yeah, I live sometime at farm. And now I saw one experience in Ukraine. We have farm community in New Mayapur, and before war it's not so much devotees there. But when war was start, a lot of devotees go to Mayapur. All this farm community full for devotees when war start. Before this, devotees also think, oh, we Vaishnavas, we don't need this farm communities. it's not us. Our duty is something another. Yeah. But when problem was coming, and Srila Prabhupada also, he told ISKCON saved people in a very hard time. And this material civilization, which based on sinful activities, it's just question of time. Its problem will be there.
Yes. Yeah, very good point. Yeah, it's question of time till. Prabhupada says it's a suicidal course, meaning the society is committing suicide. What does it mean? It means the society will actually at one point collapse. It will not exist anymore. And we can see, look at the young generation, even my generation, myself, so much degradation. But then I see young people, sometimes I sit in the tram, in the train, and they speak, you know. It's like, whoa. They just, every fourth word is like a curse word, and but then you see the devotee kids. Wow. No? Do you notice that also sometimes when I see devotee kids like Ajahn? It's like, what a nice boy. What a nice girl. I just want to be with them. Spend time with them because I feel so comfortable with them. They are so nice. So it looks like the devotee kids become very empowered, and those who follow the Kali Yuga culture, they will ruin themselves, literally. Families will go extinct. Whole generations will, maybe even nations at some point. I don't know, we're speculating, but Prabhupada probably knew what he's speaking about. So there's a lot to do. Today we go for Harinama in the city, and it's nice. I hope all of you will come, and let's do it. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Damodar Prasad Prabhu ki
Ananta
jai.
Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Vacha Kalprabhurischa Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo. Maybe Balak Sen Prabhu, you can give a Russian language with translation to English. Anna could translate sometime. She sit here, you sit here, and then. Хорошо. What?
When?
It's all on camera, everybody's watching.
When?
Let's see, because now Maharaj hopefully will give class tomorrow, last class, and then maybe Friday.
But after 2 weeks we need to make calendar.
I also have a long to do this, but I give. You can give spontaneous, no problem.
But it's very short, the spontaneous lecture.
Dino looks actually so nice.
Dino demigod.
Huh? Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Everyone has time today for swimming. You have to go another day.
Yeah, me also. I need to install this program.
You could start with this calendar.
I want.
Okay. I actually I tried to ask him, but he was already compiling a few pictures.
Okay.